Tonight on First Alert Weather Extra, we're just 2 days away from the official start of winter, and it's coming in hot, or should I say cold. We're on your side with what we're expecting for the weekend, and if some parts of Alabama could see a few flurries.
And we're speaking with experts on the best way you can prevent allergy flare-ups and the flu during the colder months.
Plus, we're not the only ones that need to stay warm. We talk with the owner of a local animal rescue on how they keep our furry friends safe during these drops in temperatures.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And the team back with you here, Lauren, Tania. It is chilly out there tonight. A little cold. I don't know. Yeah. It's almost like we have doors open around here.
They kind of were. They were propped open.
Y'all love having those doors open around here if anyone's listening. But hey, we're making some nice renovations to the building, so it's fine. We'll suffer through it.
Yeah, a little early Christmas present.
We had to let the paint fumes kind of.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's like you either have the fumes or you have the cold air. I'm like, all right, bring in the fresh air then.
Yeah, but it's chilly out there tonight. Listen, tomorrow could see, if you're traveling to the mountains, some snow in places like Gatlinburg. Seeing some more cold air on the way, and it's chilly tonight. The next big thing is going to be a drop in temperatures down into the 20s tomorrow night. And when you plan your day for Friday, some things to know: it's going to be windy, it's going to turn colder, and again, maybe a few sprinkles to the north and some clouds moving in, so it will be a bit more active. 39 right now in Jasper. It's not too windy right now, and the temperature's dropping quickly. Look at Coleman down at 37. We have some 40s as far south as Rockford and Clinton now, even down into Demopolis and Marion right now. Temperatures down into the mid 40s. But that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Temperatures dropping off mostly in the mid to upper 30s. Could be a little bit of frost out there, but the more widespread freeze happens tomorrow night and also into Sunday morning as well. So this weekend we'll have those freezing temperatures, but that cold blast arrives tomorrow, and you'll notice it out there because that wind once again is going to pick up, especially into the afternoon. Could have wind gusts as high as 20 plus miles per hour. And then after the weekend, we start to warm up again, and it's that weather whiplash, that wheel of Alabama weather just keeps on turning. We have storms coming back possibly later next week, something we're going to be talking about here coming up, but that's what we're going to be watching there in the long range. But as we showed you some model data, you can see picking up on a little bit of moisture. It's another cold front that's moving in from the north. Most of what actually reaches the ground is going to be to the north in parts of the Carolinas, into Virginia, maybe even around the Smoky Mountains there, places like Gatlinburg. But the low temperatures for us in the morning, you can see we're close to freezing for areas to the north, but we'll rise above freezing during the day. So we're not expecting any precipitation issues. Again, maybe a sprinkle or a flurry to the north. And then tomorrow night, that's when we see those widespread freezing conditions. So that's what we're going to talk about going into your weekend. Of course, I mentioned the changes next week. We'll check in on Christmas and more. That's all coming up right here on Weather Extra.
Thanks, Wes. Well, obviously, we're talking about just how cold it is outside, but just how much colder is it than this time yesterday? Now, yesterday, we had near record-breaking temperatures. We were just a degree or two shy of that, but who cares if we didn't break a record? We still hit the 70s, still abnormally warm for December, but quite a change now. Now, by this time yesterday, already some of that cooler air was filtering in. If we had checked the temperatures potentially closer to lunchtime today, this may even be a little bit more drastic, but this is showing that over the past 24 hours alone, temperatures have dropped about 10 to 15 degrees, even a 20-degree temperature drop in Talladega. So we will validate how cold you're feeling. It's definitely cold outside, and you got to make sure you're staying warm this evening. And with temperatures preparing to fall over the coming days, the Jimmy Hale mission, in partnership with the city of Birmingham, will be opening a warming station tomorrow through Sunday for those who need a warm place to go. It'll be open from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. daily, and there will be free shuttle services available from the entrance of Lynn Park. A hot meal and essential items will also be provided throughout the night. Well, with another cold front arriving just in time for the winter solstice this weekend, humans aren't the only ones hunkering down and bracing for the plunging temperatures. Meteorologist Matt Daniel and I traveled to Kitty Cat Haven to learn about how we can best give our feline friends the first alert for the descending winter chill. Though indoor cats may find themselves nestled by the fireplace when winter arrives, outdoor cats, especially stray and feral cats, may not have the luxury.
When it's 45 degrees and lower, it's difficult for them to survive.
And age isn't just a number when it comes to keeping felines warm.
Cats are a lot different than kittens. So if you see a kitten out there and it's going to be getting cold, pick that kitten up and bring it in because it won't survive that kind of weather.
Rita Bowman, director and founder of Kitty Cat Haven and Rescue in Hoover, says we can bring the indoor warmth outside by building our community felines a warm shelter, typically as simple as a styrofoam cooler. But don't just assume an outside cat would naturally benefit from snuggling up with a plush blanket inside their styrofoam cocoon.
Everybody immediately thinks, wow, that cat's cold outside. Let me throw a blanket out there. What'll happen with the blanket, it will absorb any of the moisture that's in the air, and it will be colder for them. And some cats can actually freeze to death that way.
Instead, fill their makeshift shelter with a natural moisture repellent.
Put straw out. Straw helps them keep warm.
Even if you do equip your outdoor cats with a warm styrofoam shelter, sometimes cats will take matters into their own paws, finding a toasty yet dangerous haven under the hood of our cars.
I can't even count the number of times that we've been called to rescue cats out of cars. A tire place called us and said, we've got a cat that's located in the engine of this lady's car. But she had actually driven from a Helena area to Birmingham with that cat inside the engine. So that cat survived, thank God. I mean, a lot of times they get scared, you're on the freeway, they'll jump out and they're dead. So definitely knock on the hood. It's a simple thing to save a life.
If all else fails, Bowman says you can always try to coax the cat out with food and simply blow the horn. Though a hitchhiking kitten may seem like a nuisance, just remember.
They're just trying to keep warm. They're trying to survive, and that's their instinct, is survival.
Well, we're not the only ones experiencing these cold conditions. We are taking you to areas to the north where they're experiencing lots of snow. This is across the Midwest where a snowstorm is bringing some of the heaviest snowfall to Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it's bringing dangerous travel conditions to not only 3 but various parts of the northern U.S. Up to 6 inches of snow is expected from the Dakotas through Wisconsin, but could possibly be as high as 9 inches by the time the storm system moves out of the region later this evening. Snow and ice at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport caused a ground delay of more than an hour earlier this morning. So let's take a look here at those snowfall totals, and not just the snowfall totals, but a little bit more exactly where the snow is at right now. So this is our First Alert AccuTrack satellite radar. One of the cool things about our tools is that we're able to see where snow and where precipitation is happening across the country. And as we take you to the north, well, you see over near Green Bay, we've got heavy snow there, Milwaukee, and over towards Flint, Michigan. Those areas are really going to have a white Christmas. I'm sure of that. But lots of warnings and advisories in effect for the areas that I just called out. We're looking at Wisconsin area all the way over towards Minneapolis, but you can see further up north, just north of Bismarck, 8 inches of snow. Some areas just above 5 inches, areas farther north, and 2 inches as we look further down south near the city of Rochester and Waterloo. But so much snow happening across the country, just not here. But as these cold conditions here at home that we're experiencing, well, we got to give you more info on that. We're going to be on your side with tips from the experts on how to stay healthy during these frigid conditions in just 30 seconds. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, it is time for weather every 6 minutes. We know the big day that you guys are waiting for and wanting that forecast for is next week. Yes, it's going to be cold this weekend. We'll talk more about that when we take a look at that 7-day forecast. But what about the holidays? Well, Christmas Eve is trending drier than Christmas Day, unfortunately, but we're tracking milder conditions. Christmas Eve, 58 degrees, a little bit more sunshine, and then the rain starts to push through on Wednesday on Christmas Day. Slightly warmer, but a little bit more humid. If you're going to be outdoors for any Christmas festivities, grab the umbrella and the rain jacket. And unfortunately, far too warm for that wet weather to be snow. Lauren.
Yeah, we just can't get our luck around here. Well, Tania, with the first day of winter only a couple of days away, you may be stocking up on medicine and soup for those moments where your allergies or a cold may sneak up on you. I spoke with Dr. Jessica Grayson, associate professor with UAB, about the best practices for combating these various illnesses. So, Dr. Grayson, can you tell us, as we go into the winter months, what are some of the ailments that we can begin to see during the colder season?
So obviously, like you mentioned, the flu, which has been pretty in high volume the last couple of weeks, but there are also about 200 other upper respiratory viruses that can afflict people of different ages. And so unfortunately, this is the time when more people are crowded indoors, so you're in closer quarters and you're more likely to transmit some of these viral infections to each other.
So I know a lot of times when we think about something like allergies, we think of the spring months, but they can occur in the winter as well, right?
That's correct. And particularly in this part of the country where it doesn't get cold enough to kill off everything, you can have some persistence of certain trees and tree allergies. And we also see mold allergies because it tends to be a little bit more damp this time of year. We don't have the humidity that we have in the summer and the early fall that gives us some other molds, but we can still get them in this time of year. And then dust comes back into play because people are back inside.
So what are some good tips for us as we go into the winter months to keep ourselves healthy and potentially keep these ailments at bay?
Yeah, so if you know you have certain allergies and there are things that you know that trigger you, avoidance is helpful, but sometimes you can't avoid all of these things. So being aware of those exposures, if you're going to a family member's house and there's lots of dust there that maybe you're not used to being exposed to, you need to make sure that when you go, before you go, you can pre-treat with antihistamines or even nasal sprays like nasal steroids or nasal antihistamines. Management afterwards with sinus irrigations like saline irrigations will wash out allergens and irritants from the nose if that's where your primary symptoms are. When it comes to viral infections and trying to keep yourself healthy, so getting as much rest as possible. I know that's hard because it's a busy time of year. Staying away from people who you know are sick when you can. And there is some data anecdotally about making sure that you get a lot of leafy green vegetables, that there are good antiviral properties within these foods. And so ensuring that you are adding that into your mix of holiday foods and things can also help.
All right, guys, it is time to talk more about the next big thing. We're going to switch gears now to talk about what we're currently watching as we head into the new year. And what better person to speak to other than our very own, Lauren Linehan. She's going to give us the weather low.
Hey.
Lauren.
Hey.
The
lowdown.
weather lowdown. Okay, break it down for us, Lauren. We
Okay.
want to know a little bit more about shear, lift, instability, and moisture.
Yeah, we'll break it down for real on the Late Show tonight, like Tania and them always do. Tania, Steve, and Brittany always have a wild time. But yeah, let's talk about what is the weather lowdown with Slim. You're like, oh, like Slim Shady? No, we're talking about Slim when it comes to severe weather. And there are 4 ingredients that we look for as meteorologists to see if the atmosphere could potentially be conducive to the possibility for severe storms and possibly tornadoes. So one of those ingredients are shear. Shear is the difference in wind speed or direction as you go from the surface up in height in the atmosphere. If you do have a difference in that, it can cause sometimes some turning motion in the atmosphere. And you also have to have lift. Something like a disturbance in the upper levels of the atmosphere, a front coming through, those can all help to provide lift, which provides rising motion, which can help storms to form. Instability is that storm fuel, that energy that can help storms to be stronger. And then moisture, you don't want dry air. You've got to have enough humidity in the atmosphere that feeds these storms. So we've been giving you that first alert for possibly later in the month, the possibility of some severe weather after Christmas. There's more answers right now. There are more questions than answers right now, though. Here we are on Christmas Day at 6 a.m. showing if there are any thunderstorms with this system, it would likely stay closer to the Gulf Coast. But as we go forward in time, and this map is showing us instability and the turning of winds with height. So you've got those surface winds coming out of the southeast and winds higher up in the atmosphere, about 18,000 feet up, coming out of the west-northwest. So you've got that difference in wind direction and speed. So you've got some pretty pretty high speeds up higher in the atmosphere. So a lot of times what happens when we have winter severe weather threats, you have enough wind shear in the atmosphere, you have enough wind energy, but it's always a question of whether there will be enough instability, enough storm fuel. Because think about it, in the winter, it doesn't get as hot, right? So heat is energy. So the more energy, the more heat you have, that can add more storm fuel. So here we are Saturday night at 8 o'clock. This is one of our weather models showing, okay, as we get into Saturday, we could see an increase in instability that could potentially lead to a severe weather threat. So we'll continue to fine tune it for you, but even though we're still monitoring this situation, things of course can and likely will change. It's always best to remember these tips in the event of severe weather. Make sure you have your severe weather safety kit prepared with these various items. Also that you have multiple ways to receive alerts and not depending on outdoor sirens. Never want to do that. Know your safe place in your house, which would be the innermost room away from windows, and most importantly, be prepared and not scared. And scan this code on your screen right now to download the WBRC First Alert Weather app from either the Apple app or Google Play Store. You'll be able to stay up to date on any changes to the forecast and get weather alerts specifically for your area. Well, don't go anywhere. We have more on that cool down expected for the start of the weekend. And they're looking real cool. We're headed down under to the sea, actually, to talk about a new initiative set to help save coral reefs. We'll be right back.
And welcome back into Weather Extra. Cold night out there, but hey, it's feeling like December, right? It should. We have temperatures in the 40s. We're down to 36 right now at Coleman. And the temperatures tonight, you'll want to make sure the plants are protected. If you've had the plants out to soak in some of the milder air that we had earlier this week, certainly make sure they're protected tonight. We're going to have some frost out there tomorrow morning, and watch the temperatures early in the day. Maybe a light freeze, maybe to the far north. But this is interesting. We get into the day tomorrow. Notice how the clouds start to move in again, and there's some hints that we might get a couple sprinkles to the far north during the day. There's another cold front on the way, and what's going to happen, the wind picks up, becomes quite gusty in the afternoon, and then there's a chance as that really cold air moves in tomorrow night, it may squeeze out a few flurries perhaps in some areas to the north. But the big story out of this will be the cold for us. I do expect temperatures down into the 20s. I noted earlier that there could be some measurable snow for places like Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. So if you have a trip planned to the mountains over the weekend, you may encounter some of that winter weather. But as for us, it's the chill. And speaking of wind chill, that will be a factor into tomorrow night and early Saturday morning. Wind chills could be as low as 19 degrees. Well, look at that, 16 there at Ashland. So there could be some teens and low 20s as far as the wind chill, but the breeze should gradually settle down into Saturday, and then the cold sticks around through Sunday. And then next week we start to warm up, and by Christmas Day, well, the wet weather still looks to show up. I think Santa's going to bring us a little bit of rain there. You can see starting early Christmas morning, some wet weather moving in, so that possibility is there. It doesn't look like an all-day soaking rain. I think there'll be some breaks out there, but it still looks like a good chance that we could see some wet weather. And then that's going to actually usher in the milder conditions towards the end of the week. It'll start to feel milder, more soupy, maybe some foggy mornings coming up to close out the year. And then as Lauren was talking about, what you're looking at here is that storm fuel, that instability, and the models are hinting that we could see some unstable air across the region. Not to say for us there could be a defined risk for severe weather, but it may set up to the south, and there could be a risk for some storms. We just see the possibility there for some stormy weather across the region late next week, possible strong storm risk. And the big thing at this point is just stay weather alert next week. Check the forecast just in case anything changes as we fine-tune things. Again, looks like into tomorrow some nice weather conditions. Here's the 10-day forecast. We have first alert for freezing during the morning this weekend, and again into Wednesday of next week we have that 40% chance of rain for Christmas, and again later next week more rain and storms possible for the final weekend of the year. And we will continue right here on Weather Extra. Right now, let's go to Tania.
Well, Wes, coral reefs are vitally important to our oceans, but 40% of coral species around the world are currently at risk of extinction. In this week's Degrees of Science, meteorologist Brady Taylor spoke with a marine biologist with the Smithsonian Institute about a program that is working to save coral reefs all over the world through cryopreservation.
You have a background working with conservation, really when it comes to coral reef with the cryobiology work. So tell us about the project that you have called the Reef Recovery Initiative.
When we first started, we started working on preserving coral sperm. And today we have about 50 or so species that are cryopreserved. Now what we're going to try to do is create a system of biorepositories around the world so that in every ocean we collect corals and try and preserve almost every species on Earth.
How important is it to preserve and protect the biodiversity of the ocean, and particularly these coral reefs?
Coral reefs, they support 1/4 of all animals that live in the ocean. They live on a coral reef at some point. So these are many of the fish that we eat. They're a nursery ground for a lot of invertebrates, a lot of other fish. They protect our cities and our homes because they act as a buffer. When Katrina came into New Orleans, a lot of the buffering areas around New Orleans had been destroyed, the wetlands and things like that could have absorbed that storm surge. Coral reefs, it's estimated that about $10 trillion is added to our global economy from various aspects of coral reefs, whether it's protecting fish, creating livelihoods, et cetera, but they're very important for our world economy as well.
Is there particular reefs that y'all are more focused on to really get these samples from sooner than others?
You know, there's 1,000 species on the planet. We cannot save all of them at at once, really. And so we're going through that process. And my guess is that the Caribbean will rate very high because it's gone through a great deal of stress in the last few years, from having very high temperatures to bleaching, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll make a list of say 20 or so species to start out with that are prioritized, and we'll go after them in the next, say, 3 to 5 years and really try and do a good job on them. And in the meantime, we will try and move to other areas of the world. We think it's going to be critical for the future of coral reefs.
Well, all right, we had a jam-packed show today. I tell you what, that's what happens when you have the weather extra, right?
There's always going to be some real extra involved.
Oh, yeah.
You guys wrapped up your holiday shopping?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Lauren, good luck.
No, yeah. Great for me.
The store shelves are empty.
All right. Hey, we'll talk about your shopping forecast and more tonight. We'll see you first at 9.
Oh, it's bad.
The store shelves are empty. You might as well just put some Amazon orders in. It is bad.